The Vietnam War was a brutal and complex conflict lasting from 1955 to 1975. While the U.S. military had superior firepower, the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese forces relied on guerrilla warfare, using the dense jungle to their advantage. One of their most effective tactics? Booby traps. These deadly devices struck fear into soldiers, causing injuries, fatalities, and psychological trauma. In this video, we'll explore the history of the Vietnam War and the most infamous booby traps used in the fight. The booby traps of the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War was a battle between the Communist North, led by Ho Chi Minh, and the anti-Communist South, backed by the United States. What started as a fight for independence from colonial rule turned into a Cold War battleground. The U.S. entered the war to prevent the spread of communism, but they faced a determined enemy that knew the land better than anyone. The Viet Cong, a communist guerrilla force, waged a war of attrition, using ambush tactics, tunnels, and an array of deadly booby traps. The Viet Cong lacked the advanced weaponry of the U.S. military, so they turned to homemade traps. These weren't just random hazards, they were strategically placed to wound, slow down, and terrify enemy troops. Booby traps served multiple purposes. They inflicted casualties, drained morale, and forced soldiers to move cautiously, disrupting their momentum. Let's take a look at some of the most feared traps of the Vietnam War. One of the most notorious traps was the Punji pit. This was a concealed pit filled with sharpened bamboo stakes, sometimes coated with poison or infected material to cause infections. Soldiers who stepped into these pits suffered painful wounds that could lead to severe complications. A tension-activated trap, the bamboo whip was a spring-loaded stick lined with spikes. When triggered, it would swing violently into the victim, impaling them. These were often set at chest or head height for maximum damage. This simple yet effective trap used a modified bullet cartridge placed in the ground. Stepping on it would activate the firing pin, turning the bullet into a landmine. It was an easy and cheap way to cause devastating injuries. Inspired by traditional hunting techniques, these traps involved a heavy spiked frame that would slam shut on a soldier's leg when triggered, causing severe injuries and trapping the victim in place. Grenade traps were incredibly versatile. The Viet Cong would attach grenades to tripwires hidden in tall grass, doorways, or even inside objects like soda cans or helmets. One wrong step or movement, and the grenade would detonate. While not exclusive to the Viet Cong, this mine was a psychological weapon. When triggered, it would launch into the air before exploding at waist height, causing maximum casualties. The relentless use of booby traps forced the United States military to adapt. Soldiers were trained to spot disturbances in the ground, use mine detectors, and employ scout dogs. However, even with these precautions, booby traps remained a constant threat, contributing to the war's brutal conditions. Even decades after the war, the deadly legacy of these traps remains. Unexploded ordnance and hidden traps still pose a risk in rural Vietnam. Veterans recall the psychological toll of moving through terrain where death could be one misstep away. The Vietnam War may have ended, but the impact of these guerrilla tactics continues to be studied in modern military strategy. The booby traps of the Vietnam War weren't just weapons, they were a symbol of the Viet Cong's resourcefulness and determination. Their effectiveness showed that sometimes, the simplest tools can turn the tide of war. What do you think about these tactics? Were they an ingenious strategy, or a cruel necessity? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more military history insights right here on History Recolored. Thank you.